Welcome back, traveler. Tonight, we return to the inn at the crossroads, where the roads meet and stories gather like rain in a barrel. Spring has arrived with muddy roads and restless winds, and the innkeeper's diary holds entries from nights when words themselves seem to carry weight. Letters undelivered, confessions unspoken, messages sealed and silent. Pour yourself something warm, settle in, and let us see what the diary reveals.
The 15th day of the 4th month. The roads are softening. This is what spring means here at the crossroads. Not flowers first, but mud. Deep, clinging mud that turns every arrival into a slow procession. Boots squelching, wagon wheels groaning under the effort of each rotation. The sound of spring is not birdsong yet, but the wet sucking of earth, reclaiming what winter hardened. 3 travelers arrived this afternoon, each stepping through my door with that particular weariness that comes not from distance traveled, but from burdens carried. I have learned to recognize it. The way shoulders curve inward, the way hands move to coat pockets, as if checking that something precious remains safe. The first was a woman, perhaps 50 years of age, her cloak the deep gray of storm clouds. She carried a leather satchel across her body, worn smooth at the edges from years of wear. When I offered to take it while she warmed herself, she declined with a gentle shake of her head. "I've carried it this far," she said. "A little longer won't hurt." The second traveler was younger, a man whose beard was just beginning to show threads of silver. His hands were ink-stained, a scribe, perhaps, or a clerk. He removed his gloves carefully as if his fingers pained him, and I noticed the calluses where a quill would rest against skin. He ordered hot wine and sat by the eastern window, staring out at the road he'd just traveled. The third arrival came near dusk. An older gentleman, his coat patched at the elbows, carrying nothing but a walking stick of polished oak and a small bundle wrapped in oilcloth. He moved with the careful precision of someone conserving energy, each step deliberate. When he reached the fire, he stood before it for a long moment, eyes closed, as if the warmth were a language he was remembering how to speak. I prepared the common room as I always do. Fresh rushes scattered across the flagstones, the fire built high, bread warming by the hearth. The kitchen sent forth smells of rosemary and garlic, root vegetables simmering in the iron pot. Outside, the rain began, soft at first, then steady, a sound like whispered conversations filling the spaces between walls. The gray-cloaked woman sat at the table nearest the fire. From her satchel, she withdrew a letter. Not to read it, I noticed this immediately, simply to hold it. The paper was yellowed at the edges, the seal broken long ago, the wax cracked into pieces held together only by the memory of their former shape. She held it the way one might hold a bird with a broken wing, carefully as if the wrong pressure might finish what time had started. The ink-stained man took a table by himself, but his eyes kept drifting to the woman with the letter. I saw recognition there, not of her specifically, but of the gesture. After a time, he reached into his own coat and withdrew an envelope, sealed, wax intact. He placed it on the table before him like a chess piece, studying it. Shaw, the older gentleman, settled into a chair near the hearth, his oilcloth bundle resting on his lap. He did not unwrap it, but his hands settled over it with a gentleness that suggested whatever lay within mattered more than its physical weight would indicate. I brought them food, bowls of stew thick with carrots and turnips, bread still warm from the clay oven, butter soft and pale as spring light. They ate quietly, each absorbed in private thoughts. The rain that continued its steady percussion against the roof. It was the woman who spoke first. "Innkeeper," she said, her voice carrying across the room with surprising clarity. "Do you keep letters here? Messages left by travelers, I mean, for others who might pass through?" I paused in my work, considering. "Not formally," I replied, "but if someone wished to leave word, I would keep it safe. The crossroads sees many people. Paths cross here more often than one might expect." She nodded slowly, turning the broken sealed letter over in her hands. "My daughter," she said, and then started again. "I wrote this to my daughter 11 years ago, before she married and moved east to the coastal settlements. There were words said, hard words. I wanted to explain myself, to ask forgiveness for my stubbornness. I sealed this letter and meant to send it, but..." The sentence trailed into silence. The fear crackled. "But you kept it instead," I said quietly. "I kept it. And now she has children of her own, and they say she runs an inn not unlike this one, and I have carried this letter across half the region, telling myself that this time I will send it or deliver it myself. But you cannot. I cannot." She set the letter down on the table, smoothing it with trembling fingers. The words felt true when I wrote them. Now they feel incomplete, insufficient. How can 11 years of silence be answered with a single letter written in anger's immediate aftermath? The ink-stained man cleared his throat. "I understand this," he said. His voice was rough, unpracticed, as if he spent more time with written words than spoken ones. "I, too, carry a letter I cannot send." He lifted his sealed envelope, showed us the address written in careful script. A name, a town to the north. "My brother," he explained. "We have not spoken in 7 years. A dispute over our father's estate. Foolish looking back. Money and property, things that seemed so important then. I wrote this 3 months ago. An apology, an attempt to bridge what pride has kept apart." "Why not send it?" the older gentleman asked. His voice was papery, dry, but kind. The ink-stained man laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Fear, I suppose. Fear that the apology is too late. Fear that he will refuse it. Fear that I have misremembered our argument, that my version of events is not his, that my words will only deepen the wound." He turned the envelope over. "So I carry it, and every town I pass through, I tell myself, send it from here, but I never do." The older gentleman nodded slowly. He placed his hands on his oilcloth bundle. "We are a sorry trio, then," he said, "each carrying words we cannot deliver." "You as well?" the woman asked. "Me as well." He unwrapped the bundle carefully. Inside was a small wooden box, hardly larger than his palm, intricately carved with patterns of leaves and vines. He opened it. It said, cushioned in cloth, was a folded letter and a ring, simple silver, unadorned. "My wife," he said. "She died 2 winters past. Before she went, she asked me to be able to carry her ashes to the mountain lake where we spent our first days together, to scatter them there and say the words she'd written in this letter, her farewell to the place that meant so much to us." He closed the box gently. "I have traveled that road 3 times now. Each time I reach the lake, and each time I cannot do it. Cannot open the box, cannot read the words, cannot let her go into those cold waters. So I turn back, and the letter remains unread, and her ashes remain with me, and I'm failing her even in this final request." The rain had intensified, drumming harder against the shutters. I stood in the space between their tables, feeling the weight of their confessions settling into the room like snow accumulating on branches. "Perhaps," I said carefully, "letters are not only the words they contain, perhaps they are also the intention behind them, the care taken in their crafting. Whether sent or not, they exist. They are real." The woman looked up at me. "But what good are words unsaid, gestures unmade?" I had no answer for this. Instead, I did what innkeepers do. I tended the fire, brought more bread, refilled cups with hot cider. The white candle on the mantel burned steadily, its flame unwavering despite the drafts that snuck through the doorframe. Later, when the 3 travelers had retired to their rooms, the woman and the gentleman to private chambers, the ink-stained man to a pallet in the common sleeping room, I sat at the table they'd occupied and thought about words, about all the things we carry with us, sealed and silent. Outside, the rain continued. The oak tree at the crossroads would be drinking deep, roots pulling water from softening earth. Spring is a season of renewal, they say, but renewal requires letting go, and letting go is the hardest work of all. I will sleep soon, but first I write this. Another collection of words, another attempt to hold what passes through this place. The inn fills with stories the way rain barrels fill with water, slowly, steadily, one drop at a time. The 16th day of the 4th month morning arrived gray and wet. The rain had not stopped, though it had gentled to a persistent mist that hung in the air like cobwebs. I woke to the sound of water dripping from the eaves, each drop striking the rain barrel beneath my window with a soft, plinking rhythm. The 3 travelers from yesterday were already awake when I descended to the common room. They sat together now, their tables pulled close to the fire, sharing the warmth and something else. A camaraderie born of shared burden. I prepared breakfast, porridge thick with honey and cream, bacon fried until crisp, bread toasted over the fire's edge, hot tea steeped with mint from the kitchen garden, dried last autumn and stored in clay jars. The scents filled the room, mingling with wood smoke and the clean smell of rain. "Innkeeper," the woman called as I brought the food. "We were wondering, do many travelers pass through here carrying things like we carry?" "Letters, you mean? Unfinished business?" "That, yes, but also regrets. Impossible errands. Promises half kept." I poured tea into her cup, watching steam rise and dissipate. "More than you might think," I said. "The crossroads attracts those who are between one place and another, one choice and the next. Many carry more than can be seen in their packs." The ink-stained man spread butter on his toast with careful precision. "Does anyone ever resolve it? Send their letters, complete their journeys, make their peace?" "Some do. Some leave here lighter than they arrived. Others," I gestured vaguely, "others return to the road, still carrying what they came with. But perhaps that is answer enough. Perhaps the carrying itself is what matters. Or perhaps we are all just cowards," the woman said, but without bitterness. Simply stating a fact she'd been considering. The older gentleman shook his head. "I do not think it is cowardice. Fear, yes, but fear of the right thing. Fear of causing more harm. Fear of being too late. Fear of discovering that what we remember as precious has changed beyond recognition. These are not cowards' fears. They are the fears of people who care too much, not too little." We ate in companionable silence for a time. Outside, I could hear horses shifting in the stable, the soft sounds of other travelers beginning their day. A couple who'd arrived late last night, seeking shelter from the rain. Tinka, who'd set up his small repair kit in the corner of the stable, mending a broken bridle. It was mid-morning when the unusual visitor arrived. I heard the horse first, a single rider approaching from the south road. The hoofbeats were slow, measured, as if the rider was in no hurry despite the rain. When the door opened, a figure stepped through, dressed in a long coat the color of wet slate, hood drawn up against the weather. "Welcome," I said as I say to all who enter. "Come warm yourself. I'll see to your horse. The horse is seen to, thank you." The voice was neither young nor old, neither masculine nor feminine. The figure lowered their hood, revealing a face that was similarly ageless. Smooth skin, but ancient eyes, dark hair untouched by gray, yet somehow suggesting centuries. They looked around the common room, gaze settling on each of the three travelers in turn, then on me. "You keep the crossroads well," they said. "The light burns bright here." I glanced at the white candle on the mantel. It burned as it always did, steady and pure. The stranger moved to an empty table, not removing their coat. From an inner pocket, they withdrew a leather folder, aged and cracked. They laid it on the table and opened it carefully. Inside were letters, Dozens of them, hundreds perhaps, though how they all fit in that slim folder I could not say. Each envelope different, some sealed with wax, some tied with ribbon, some yellowed with age, some fresh and white as new snow. I am a carrier of messages, the stranger said, addressing the room rather than any one person. Some call me a collector, others a keeper of last words. I travel the roads gathering letters that cannot be delivered, messages to the dead, confessions meant for those who will never forgive, love letters to people who never existed except in the writer's heart. The gray-cloaked woman leaned forward. What do you do with them? I carry them. I keep them safe. I witness their existence. The stranger's fingers trace the edge of the folder. Not all words need to arrive at their destination to have meaning. Sometimes the writing itself is enough. The intention, the attempt. The ink-stained man stood abruptly, then sat again, uncertain. Are you saying we should give you our letters, surrender them? I am saying nothing of the sort. I'm simply telling you what I do, what I am. Whether you choose to keep your words or release them is entirely your own decision. The older gentleman spoke quietly. If we gave them to you, what would you do with them? Keep them. Read them if they are not sealed, or if the seal is already broken. Bear witness to what was written. Ensure that the words, even if never received, are at least never forgotten. Silence settled over the room. The fire crackled, rain tapped against the windows, the white candle burned. I found myself thinking of all the stories that had passed through this inn, all the words spoken over these tables, all the confessions whispered near this fire. The crossroads was a place of passing through, but it was also a place of leaving behind. Everyone who stopped here left something, a memory, a story, a moment that rippled outward even after they'd gone. The woman with the gray cloak was the first to move. She picked up her letter, the one with the broken seal, and held it for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to the stranger's table. This was meant for my daughter, she said. I wrote it when I was angry and hurt and convinced I was right. Now I know I was also wrong, but I do not know how to say that without these words, which are insufficient. If you will take it, if you will keep it, then at least it will exist somewhere besides in my pocket, growing heavier with each year. The stranger accepted the letter with both hands, as if receiving something precious. They placed it carefully in the folder. Your daughter, the stranger said. Does she know you carry this? No. Perhaps someday you will tell her. Not give her the letter itself, but tell her that you wrote it, that you carried it, that you heard it enough to put pen to paper, even if the words never reached her. Sometimes the story of a letter is worth more than the letter itself. The woman nodded slowly, then returned to her seat. I saw something shift in her posture, not quite relief, but perhaps the first breath after a long-held tension. The ink-stained man was next. He picked up his sealed envelope, turning it over and over in his hands. My brother, he said to the stranger, we have not spoken in 7 years. I do not even know if he still lives in the town written on this envelope. For all I know, he's moved on, started over, forgotten me entirely. But you haven't forgotten him. No, I haven't. Then the letter has already served its purpose. It has kept memory alive. It has maintained connection across silence. The stranger extended a hand. But if you wish to release it, I will carry it for you. The man hesitated, then placed the envelope in the stranger's palm. If someday you find yourself in the northern counties and you happen to pass through a town called Millbrook, and you happen to see a man who might be my brother, tall with a scar across his left eyebrow from when we were boys, would you? I would do nothing, the stranger said gently. That is not my role. I carry words, but I do not deliver them to destinations their writers chose not to send them to. However, if I encountered such a man, and if he spoke of missing a brother, I might tell him that somewhere, someone carries words meant for him. What he does with that knowledge would be his choice, as what you've done today is yours. The man nodded, sat down, put his face in his hands. His shoulders shook once, twice. Then he was still. The older gentleman remained seated, the wooden ball on his lap. He made no move toward the stranger's table. "And you?" the stranger asked, not unkindly. "Do you wish to release your burden?" The old man shook his head. "No, not yet, perhaps not ever. The letter my wife wrote is hers, and the task she gave me is mine, and I am not ready to surrender either." He paused. "But it helps, knowing that others carry what cannot be delivered. It helps to know I am not alone in this." The stranger inclined their head. "You're not alone. The world is full of words in transit, hanging between intention and arrival. You are part of a vast fellowship of the almost spoken." They closed the folder then, though it seemed to me that it should have been thicker, heavier, with the 2 new letters inside. But perhaps weight is not always physical. Perhaps some things grow lighter when shared, even if they remain undelivered. The stranger stood, pulling their hood back into place. "Thank you for your hospitality, innkeeper. The crossroads is what it should be, a place of rest and also a place of release. Keep the candle burning." "I will," I said. They left then, back into the rain, and when I went to the window, I saw them riding north on a horse, the color of mist. And within moments, both rider and mount had vanished into the gray morning as if they'd never been. The 3 travelers sat quietly for a long time. Then, slowly, they began to talk. Not about their letters, but about other things. The woman spoke of her daughter's inn by the sea, how she'd heard it had blue shutters and a garden full of lavender. The ink-stained man spoke of his work copying legal documents, the satisfaction of clean letters forming under his quill. The older gentleman spoke of the mountain lake, how it was said to be so clear you could see straight to the bottom, even in the deepest parts. They were still talking when I retired to the kitchen to begin preparing the midday meal. Behind me, the white candle burned on, and the rain fell softly, and the inn held its small congregation of the burdened and the searching. Sometimes I think that is enough to provide the space, to tend the fire, to witness what passes through. Not all things can be solved, but all things can be held for a time in warmth and safety. The 17th day of the 4th month. The rain broke during the night. I woke to silence, the absence of water against the roof so complete it felt loud. When I opened the shutters of my small chamber, the world was washed clean. The sky was that peculiar shade of spring dawn, pale blue touched with rose, and the roads were rivers of mud, gleaming in early light. The 3 travelers departed after breakfast, each going their separate way. The woman headed east toward the coast. The ink-stained man turned north toward mountain settlements. The older gentleman simply stood at the crossroads for a long time, looking down each road in turn, before finally choosing west toward the frontier. I do not know if they felt lighter. I do not know if surrendering their letters or choosing to keep them brought any resolution, but I think perhaps it brought something else: communion. The recognition that their burdens were not unique, that others traveled the roads carrying similar weights. After they left, I found something on the table where the stranger had sat, a single letter, sealed with black wax, addressed to no one, just blank paper on the front and that dark seal. I held it for a time, wondering if I should open it, wondering what words might be inside. But in the end, I placed it on the mantel beside the white candle. If it was meant for me, I would know. If it was meant for someone else, they would come. The inn was quiet through the morning. I took the opportunity to air the sleeping chambers, shaking out straw pallets and opening shutters to let spring air circulate. The kitchen garden was showing to signs of life, tiny green shoots pushing through dark earth. I worked the soil gently, removing rocks and encouraging growth. It was early afternoon when a new visitor arrived, a young woman, perhaps 20, with travel-worn boots and a pack that suggested weeks on the road. She had the weathered look of someone who'd crossed difficult country, face sun-darkened, hands calloused, eyes squinting slightly, even in the modest light. "Welcome," I said. "You come from the eastern coast," she confirmed. "Following the old trade roads inland, I'm looking for someone. This is not uncommon. The crossroads is a natural place to seek those who are themselves seeking. I'll help if I can. Who are you looking for?" She hesitated, then drew a folded paper from her pocket, a letter, but different from the ones I had seen yesterday. This was newer, the ink fresh, the paper crisp. "My mother," she said. We parted poorly years ago. I've been running the family inn in her absence, and it's been successful, and I've been happy. But there's this hole, this absence. And I recently learned she'd been traveling, carrying a letter she'd written to me, trying to work up the courage to send it or deliver it. My heart quickened. "Your mother, is she a woman with a gray cloak, storm-colored?" The young woman's eyes widened. Yes? Yes, that's her. You've seen her. When? Is she still here? She left this morning, heading east, toward the coast. I paused. Toward you, I think. We must have passed each other on the road, the young woman said, voice cracking slightly. While I was traveling inland to find her, she was traveling seaward to find me. The roads are long, many paths. It's possible you took different routes. She sat heavily at one of the tables. I've been traveling for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, and we crossed paths without meeting. That's perfectly fitting, isn't it? That's exactly how it's been between us. Always moving, never quite connecting. I brought her water, then cider, then food. She ate mechanically, lost in thought. The letter she carried, I said carefully. She did not send it, but she no longer carries it either. What do you mean? I told her about the stranger, about the collector of undeliverable words, about her mother's decision to release the letter into other hands. The young woman listened quietly. When I finished, she pulled out her own letter, the one she'd been carrying. I wrote this to her, an apology for my stubbornness, an explanation of why I stayed when she wanted me to go, why I chose my own path. I was going to give it to her when I found her, but now you know she was carrying words for you as well, both of you writing, both of you trying to bridge the gap, both of us too afraid to actually deliver the words. I considered this. Perhaps. Or perhaps you were both waiting for the right moment, waiting to be worthy of forgiveness, waiting to find the courage that comes not from certainty, but from desperation. She looked down at her letter. What should I do? Should I keep searching for her, try to catch her on the road back? I cannot answer that, but I can tell you this. She spoke of you with pride. She told me about your inn with the blue shutters, your lavender garden. She has followed your success even from a distance. She knows about the inn. She knows. She cares. She carries you with her, letter or no letter. The young woman sat in silence for a long time. Outside, a wind picked up, sending last autumn's leaves skittering across the crossroads. The oak tree creaked and swayed. Finally, she stood. I'll return home, she said. I'll go back to my inn, and I'll wait. If she's traveling toward the coast, toward me, then that's where I should be. Not chasing her across the countryside, but ready to receive her when she arrives. And the letter? She looked at it, then at me. May I leave it here, on your mantel, perhaps beside that candle? If she returns this way, if she needs to know that I was looking for her too, that I was trying to reach her as well, let her find this. Let it be here, waiting. I accepted the letter and placed it on the mantel. 2 letters now, side by side. One sealed with black wax for an unknown recipient. One addressed to a mother from a daughter, sealed with red wax, the color of reconciliation. The young woman stayed the night. In the morning, she departed, heading east once more. I watched her go until she was just a silhouette against the risen sun, and then she was gone. The inn returned to its rhythms. Travelers came and went. I cooked, I cleaned, I tended the fire and the garden, but my eyes kept drifting to the mantel, to those 2 letters resting in the candlelight. Messages in transit, words suspended between sender and recipient. The whole world, I sometimes think, is full of these almost connections, these near misses, these words hovering in the space between mouths and ears. But they exist. They're real. And perhaps that is enough. The 23rd day of the 4th month. 6 days have passed since the young woman departed. The weather has continued its slow turn toward true spring, warmer days, cold nights, mud drying into rutted roads that will need smoothing before summer traffic arrives. I have been busy with mundane tasks. The winter stores are running low, so I inventoried what remains and made lists of what needs purchasing when the next merchant caravan arrives. The roof's northern corner was dripping during the last rain, so I patched it with fresh tar and extra shingles. The stable needed mucking. The kitchen garden needed thinning where shoots had come up too thick. In the evenings I write, not just in this diary, but also letters of my own, to suppliers, to neighboring settlements, to the distant monastery that occasionally sends wandering monks this way. Ordinary correspondence, the kind that keeps the world connected. But I find myself thinking about the other kind of letters, the undeliverable ones, the sealed messages carrying words too heavy or too fragile to actually send. On the 3rd day after the young woman left, an old friend arrived, Marcus, the tinker who passes through twice yearly with his cart of repairs and sundries. We've known each other since I was a child, since my father first built this inn. Marcus taught me how to mend a broken hinge, how to true a wheel, how to resolder a cracked kettle. He's in his 70s now, hands gnarled with arthritis, but still clever, still skilled. He set up his small workspace in the stable yard and spent 2 days fixing things I'd set aside for his visits. A lantern with a stuck door, a pot with a loose handle, a lock that had frozen during winter. We ate together in the evenings, sharing the easy conversation of old companions. On his last night before departure, after the other guests had retired, he pulled out a pipe and tobacco, lit it with a twig from the fire. "You're thoughtful lately," he observed. "More than usual, I mean." I smiled, just thinking about letter, about words people carry but never send. He puffed quietly for a moment. "Ah, that kind of thinking, the dangerous kind. Is it dangerous? Thinking about what's unsaid always is. Makes you wonder about your own silence, doesn't it?" He was right, of course. I had been wondering about what words I carried that remained undelivered, about conversations I'd never had, letters I'd never written. "I never thanked him properly," I said quietly, "my father, for building this place, for teaching me this work. He died so quickly, the fever took him in 3 days. We were busy until the very end, trying to break it. There was no time for farewell speeches, for tidy conclusions, and then he was gone. And there were 1,000 things I'd meant to say but never did. Marcus nodded slowly. I knew your father, good man, careful builder, generous host. You know what I remember most about him? What? The way he looked at this place, like it was sacred ground, not in a religious way, but in the way something becomes sacred when you build it with your own hands, when you pour your life into it. He didn't need thanks. He saw his thanks every day. In you, in how you've kept this in how you've honored what he started. You think so? I know so. He tapped ash from his pipe. Words are important, sure, but so are actions. So is presence. Your father knew you loved him. You stayed, you learned, you've made this place everything he hoped it would be. That's a letter delivered every single day. We sat in comfortable silence after that, watching the fire burn low. Eventually, Marcus retired to his room, and I was left alone with the white candle and the 2 letters on the mantel. I thought about what he'd said, about actions as words, about presence as delivery. Perhaps the young woman and her mother didn't need their letters after all. Perhaps they just needed to occupy the same space, to sit across from each other in ordinary light, to share bread and say small, true things until the large, unspoken things became bearable. Or perhaps I was overthinking it. Perhaps some letters needed to be written even if never sent, needed to be carried even if never delivered, simply because the act of writing was itself the message. I do not know. I am only an innkeeper. I tend to and welcome travelers and write in my diary by candlelight. These are the small actions of my life, the daily letters I deliver to a recipient I've never met, the future, perhaps, or simply the darkness that surrounds this small circle of light. The 27th day of the 4th month. 4 more days. The season continues its slow unfurling. The kitchen garden now shows distinct rows of green onions and herbs, the first signs of what will become summer abundance. Birds have returned in force, filling the dawn with complicated songs. 3 travelers arrived yesterday, unconnected to each other, but bound by the same purpose. They were pilgrims heading to a shrine in the northern mountains. They wore the traditional markers, walking staffs wrapped with colored thread, leather pouches containing prayers written on small paper scrolls. Over dinner, they shared stories of why they walked. One sought healing for a sick child. One carried prayers for a dead spouse. The third, youngest of the group, said simply, I needed to walk, to move, to go somewhere with intention. I understood this, the journey as the point and not the destination. They asked about the roads ahead, about conditions in the mountain passes. I shared what I knew from other travelers, from merchants and foresters who'd passed through recently. The passes were clearing, but still treacherous. They would need still good boots and patience. Before they retired, the eldest pilgrim noticed the letters on the mantel. Those are strange decorations, she said, though not unkindly. They're waiting, I said. Both of them. One for someone unknown, one for someone who may return. Ah, undelivered messages. She nodded, as if this made perfect sense. We carry something similar. She opened her prayer pouch and showed me the small scrolls inside, prayers to be left at the shrine, words meant for ears, or that may not exist, or may exist in ways we cannot comprehend, but we carry them anyway. We deliver them anyway. And do you believe they're received? Does it matter? The carrying itself is the prayer. The journey itself is the offering. Whether anyone receives it, she shrugged. That's beyond our control. We do our part, we deliver. What happens after is not our burden. The three pilgrims left at dawn, walking in single file into the blue morning. I watched them go, their staffs marking rhythm against the road, and thought about that idea, that delivery might matter more than reception, that the act of sending might be complete in itself, regardless of arrival. Later that day, a young boy arrived with his mother. They were traveling to a cousin's farm, a journey of only a day or two more. The boy was perhaps 8 years old, curious and energetic, asking questions about everything: the inn, the oak tree, the horses in the stable. His mother apologized for his chatter, but I waved her off. I like children. I like their unfiltered curiosity, the way they see the world before learning to look away. The boy noticed the letters immediately. "What are those?" he asked, pointing at the mantel. "Letters," I said, "waiting to be delivered." "Why don't you deliver them?" "They're not mine to deliver. I'm just keeping them safe until the right person comes." He considered this with the seriousness children sometimes bring to simple explanations. "My mama has a letter like that," he said. "She carries it in her bag. She's carried it forever." His mother flushed. "Hush now, that's not. It's true, though. You showed me once. You said it was for your sister, but you were too scared to send it." The mother looked at me with embarrassment warring with something else, maybe relief, maybe the strange comfort of being seen. "It's complicated," she said quietly. "It usually is," I replied. She sat down, the boy climbing into her lap. "My sister and I, we were very close as children. Then she married a man I didn't approve of. I said things, cruel things. We haven't spoken in 5 years. I wrote her a letter 4 years ago trying to apologize, but I never sent it because what if she doesn't want my apology? What if she's happy and my letter just reopens old wounds? Or what if she's been waiting for it?" I suggested gently. "Or that. Yes, that terrifies me even more." The boy looked up at his mother. "You should send it, Mama. Then we could visit Aunt Claire again. I miss her cookies." His mother laughed, a wet sound, and hugged him tighter. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I should." "Would you like to add your letter to the mantel?" I asked. "No obligation, but there's space if you want it to rest here for a while." She thought about this, then shook her head. No, I think I'll keep carrying it, but maybe I'll send it from the next town. Maybe having said it out loud, having acknowledged it, Maybe that's enough to give me courage. They stayed only one night. In the morning, as they prepared to depart, the mother pressed a small coin into my hand. "For your kindness," she said, "for listening." "That's not necessary. It's not payment, it's thanks." She smiled. "And if my sister and I do reconcile, I'll tell her about this place, about the innkeeper who keeps letters safe. She'd like that story." They left, the boy waving until they disappeared around the bend in the road. I added the coin to the inn's small treasury and returned to my work. But I found myself smiling. Maybe words in transit carried their own gravity. Maybe they pulled people into alignment without ever being delivered. The mother and her letter, the daughter searching for her mother, the pilgrims carrying prayers to uncertain destinations, all of us riding into the void, all of us hoping someone, somewhere, receives what we sent. The 3rd day of the 5th month. A full month has passed since I began recording these particular observations. Spring has settled in earnest now. The roads are firm again, dried and smoothed by sun and wind. The kitchen garden flourishes. Travelers arrive with increasing frequency as the weather permits easier passage. The letters remain on the mantel. 2 of them, side by side, the black-sealed one addressed to no one, the red-sealed one addressed to a mother who has not returned. I have grown fond of them, these small paper sentinels. They have become part of the inn's furniture, as familiar as the white candle or the ancient oak beyond the door. Guests notice them, ask about them, sometimes share their own stories of undelivered word. 3 nights ago, a scholar arrived, a woman who studies what she calls the archaeology of communication. She examines old letters found in abandoned buildings, reads diaries left behind, pieces together the lives of people through their written words. She spent an entire evening telling me about her work, about a farmhouse where she'd found 20 years of letters between sisters, stored in a trunk but never sent, about a soldier's diary discovered in a collapsed watchtower, entries spanning 5 years of lonely garrison duty, about a love letter sealed in a wall during a house's construction, found during renovation 2 centuries later. Words outlast us, she said. Bodies decay, memories fade, but writing persists. These letters you keep, they're not undelivered. They're in transit. And transit can last forever, technically. They exist in a state of eternal possibility. That's a kind way of framing it, I said. It's the true way. Every letter is a bridge across time and distance. Some bridges get crossed, others remain suspended, but they're all real structures, all connections made, even if never traversed. She asked if she could examine the 2 letters on my mantel. I allowed it, watching as she held them to the light, studied the seals, the weight of the paper, the quality of the ink visible through the envelope. "This one," she said, indicating the black seal letter, "is very old. The wax is centuries old, though the paper is newer. Someone's resealed it, I think. perhaps multiple times. How can you tell? The wax has layers. See here? Where it's cracked, there are different shades beneath. This letter has been sealed, opened, sealed again many times. What does that mean? It means someone kept returning to these words, kept reading them, then sealing them again, kept them in circulation, but also private. It's unusual. Most letters are either delivered or destroyed. To maintain one in this state of suspended delivery for so long suggests deep significance. She set it down carefully. The red one is simpler, recent, straightforward. Someone wrote it, sealed it, meant to deliver it, but couldn't. That's a common human experience. Should I open the black one? Try to find out who it's meant for? The scholar considered. That depends. Are you ready to become part of its story? Because once you open it, you'll carry its contents. You'll be responsible for them in a way. Sometimes ignorance is a kindness. I left both letters sealed. The scholar departed yesterday morning, continuing her research journey toward coastal archives. Before she left, she gave me a small leather-bound book. For you, she said. You're keeping your own archive here, whether you realize it or not. The diary you write in each night, the stories you collect from the travelers, you're building something important. Don't let it vanish. I thanked her, though I'm not sure I understand her point. I'm only recording what I see, what I hear, small moments in an ordinary place, but perhaps that's her point. That ordinary is relative, that what seems mundane to me might be precious to someone else someday when I'm gone, and this inn is a memory. Tonight, after the guests have retired, I sit with my diary and think about all of this, about letters and bridges and transit and town. The white candle burns, the fire settles into coals. Outside, spring peepers call from the damp places where water still pools. I am a keeper of words in my way. Not dramatic words, not important messages that will change the course of kingdoms. Just small words, simple records, the daily accounting of who passed through and what they carried. But small words accumulate. Simple records build into histories. Daily accounting becomes the stuff of archives, of understanding, of connection across time. I will keep writing. I will keep these letters safe. I will tend this inn and welcome travelers and maintain this small bright circle against the darkness. And if someday someone finds these pages, reads these entries, maybe they'll know that here at this crossroads, there was warmth, there was welcome. There were people trying their best to carry their burdens and deliver their messages and make some kind of sense of this brief passage we all share. That would be enough. That would be delivery enough. The 8th day of the 5th month. The morning arrived, soft and golden. I woke to birdsong and the smell of rain-washed earth. The sky was cloudless, that deep blue that comes only in late spring, and the light had the particular quality that makes everything seem sharply defined, edges clean and clear. I was in the kitchen preparing bread dough when I heard the horse, single rider, approaching from the east. Something in the rhythm of the hoof beats made me pause, made me wipe my hands on my apron and move to the window. A woman on a bay mare, riding carefully as if the journey had been long. She wore a gray cloak. My heart quickened. She dismounted at the oak tree, stood for a moment with one hand against its trunk, as if drawing strength or offering thanks. Then she walked toward the inn, and I could see her face clearly now, lined with travel and time, but lighter somehow than when I'd last seen her, as if some weight had lifted. I opened the door before she could knock. "Welcome back," I said. She smiled a small, genuine expression. "Innkeeper, I wasn't certain I'd return. The roads are long and my courage is short, but here I am." "Here you are." I stepped aside. "Come in, there's something—" "Wait." She held up a hand. "Before I enter, I need to tell you something. I went to the coast. I found my daughter's inn, the one with the blue shutters. I stood outside for an hour, trying to work up the nerve to knock on the door." "And did you?" "I did, and she wasn't there. She'd left weeks before, heading inland. They said she was looking for someone, looking for me." The woman's voice cracked slightly. "We'd crossed paths. Somewhere on the roads between here and there, we'd passed each other without knowing. But you know now. I know now, and I'm heading back. I'll wait at her inn until she returns, the way she'll likely wait at mine. We'll keep missing each other until we don't. That's how it works, I suppose. You circle and circle until finally the circles intersect." I smiled. "Before you go, come inside." Just for a moment, she followed me in, and I led her to the mantel. The two letters still rested there, side by side. I pointed to the red-sealed one. "Your daughter was here," I said quietly, 16 days ago. She was looking for you, and she left this." The woman stared at the letter as if it were a living thing. Slowly, hands trembling, she picked it up, held it to the light, traced the seal with one finger. "She wrote to me," she whispered. "All this time I thought I was the only one carrying words, but she was too. Will you open it?" She considered, then shook her head. "Not yet. I'll wait. I'll return to her inn, and when she arrives, we'll open them together, both letters, mine and hers. We'll read what we wrote when we were apart, and then we'll say what needs to be said while we're together." She tucked the letter carefully into her satchel. "Thank you, innkeeper, for keeping it safe, for being here at the crossroads, holding space for people like us. It's what I do. It's more than that. You're a bridge yourself, a living letter connecting all the travelers who pass through. Don't forget that." She left shortly after, riding west this time, toward the coast and her daughter's inn. I watched her go, watched until she was just a speck on the horizon, and then gone. One letter remained on the mantel now, the black-sealed one, addressed to no one, layers of wax suggesting centuries of opening and resealing. I picked it up, held it, felt its weight. Not today, not yet. But someday I might open it, Someday, I might need to know what words have been in transit for so long, what message has been carried and kept and sealed again and again. For now, I returned it to its place beside the white candle. The day continued in its gentle rhythm. New travelers arrived, a merchant with spices, a mason seeking work, a family moving to a homestead in the west. I welcomed them all, prepared food, tended the fire, listened to their stories. And tonight, I write, recording another day, another collection of moments, small words accumulating into something larger, a bridge across time, a letter in eternal transit. The white candle burns, the fire settles. Outside, the oak tree stands watch over the crossroads, and the roads stretch out in 4 directions. And somewhere on those roads, people are carrying words they cannot yet deliver. But they will. Someday they will. And until then, there is this place, this warm room, this welcome, this witness to the trying, which is sometimes all any of us can offer.
Thank you for returning to the crossroads once more. May you carry your own words lightly, and may you find the courage to deliver them when the time is right. Until we meet again, rest well. The inn will be here, the candle burning, whenever you need it.